Vol'Jin finally returns, but not as a troll. 10.2.7 DATAMINed info. Vol'Jin was a character I always liked. He was very cool. Sad way for him to die in the way he did, and then to get played evidently by the Loa and Sylvanas. You know, we found out all about that lore later on. Let's see how Vol'Jin returns to World of Warcraft.
We have datamined a whole bunch of NPCs that are going to be involved in the 10.2.7 Troll Heritage questline, but most importantly, the Alleria and the Darkspear. Do you know what is the main connection between these two?
Yes.
Vol'Jin, the character that has already been planted in Otherworld and is right about to return to Azeroth. The reason we have not datamined him yet is because that would really spoil everything, as he's going to get a new model, as Vol'Jin was infused by the Alleria Loa Rezan, so he's going to look completely different than what you remember him from.
That'd be cool. He's some kind of like T-Rex Loa now. Vol'Jin comes back as some kind of troll T-Rex hybrid. That'd be cool.
So let's look at all the evidence. What do we know? How will Vol'Jin return? And what will his role in the future be like? If you guys want to buy Total War, Elder Scrolls, or any other game, you can get them at great prices with my Amiibo link. You can also get anything Warcraft related, gift cards and software, and all below market prices. Best of all, if you add my code DORON, you can get an even bigger discount, so make sure to check out my link in the description and get some amazing deals with Amiibo. So, unfortunately, Vol'Jin is one of those characters that was really messed up by the Shadowlands. He was the least impactful war chief of the Horde that ended up being mortally wounded.
He served for like 3 minutes as the war chief and then got killed by a fucking NPC. That was bullshit. Yeah, I mean, at least Varian's death was like epic. You know, he took on the entire army. Vol'Jin was a badass. I don't think people realize how badass Vol'Jin was. He got killed by an NPC. Come on. Come on, they could have done him better.
Azeroth from the Legion, and then he was of course manipulated by the jailer through the Loa of Death Murzala to put Sylvanas into a position of power so that she can start the war.
Yeah, he got played by Murzala.
Fuel the machine of death and end up accomplishing absolutely nothing except, you know, annoying you have to play the base. However, luckily Blizzard has actually been trying to revert some of this, and Vol'Jin has actually been present in pretty much all the expansions, even Dragonfight in a super minor role. What a lot of people forget though is that his return is 100% confirmed. I'm not speculating here. If you follow the Shadowlands storyline,
Doran's trying to tell us. He's like, I am Doran the truth teller. Believe me this time. I'm not just pulling this shit out of my ass. I believe you, Doran. Don't worry.
Through the quest line, he was literally packed up into a wild seed in Otherworld in order to return, so he is 100% returning. The only thing that hasn't been confirmed yet is when exactly is this going to happen. However, with 10.2.7 datamined NPCs as well as a few other hints, it will definitely be happening in the World Soul Saga. But personally, I think it is the most likely that it will be happening in this patch itself, and that we will see the return of Vol'Jin by the end of Dragonfight.
I wonder why he thinks this patch. We get Troll Heritage armor. Yeah, he might be right. He might be right. I could see him coming back for the Troll Heritage questline. Supposedly they're gonna, like, the Darkspear might, like, they have their little island, the Echo Isles and stuff, but they might establish a better foothold there, or a more intricate city of some sort. I don't want to get into player housing right now, but yes, everyone's getting cities again, so that could be part of it. And him coming back in the Heritage Armor questline, Doran might be onto something.
Itself, and that we will see the return of Vol'Jin by the end of Dragonfight, and we have a few pieces of evidence to back this up. Before we dive into the NPCs that are highly correlated to Vol'Jin's return and dissect how it is going to happen, let's look at yet another hint, and that is a pretty obvious one, and that is Chronicle Volume 4.
Blizzard that's right, he's on the front page.
Continuing the Chronicles.
Yeah, I forgot of that. I forgot. He's on the front page of the new Chronicle.
This time covering the lore from Mists of Pandaria to Shadowlands, and as you
the
can
cover,
see, Vol'Jin is quite literally the face of the book. Now, the timing itself is interesting here. The book is coming out mid-July, so pretty soon. If you count the 10.2.6 is going to come out somewhere around March, it is very likely that the Troll Heritage questline that has been announced on the roadmap in 10.2.7 is going to come out somewhere around June.
This makes sense. 10.2.7 coming out, you know, this is probably early summer, or it's late spring. That's what it's looking like here. You're going to get the book coming out, and then early summer, pre-patch, and then expansion. Bam, August.
which is going to align quite well. The only confusing bit is that apparently Chronicle is a biased Titan perspective book, but they still seem to be pushing it as like the Warcraft Bible, but you know, that is a topic for another video. Now on to the evidence itself. About a month back, we
well, the new he's talking about Chronicle being like whether it's lore related or whether it's Titan perspective. It's already been established the new book is actually written by Khadgar. So this is a Khadgar perspective on Dragonflight and everything else going forward. So this is essentially a truth from his perspective. It's not. This is not a Titan written chronicle. This is not. You know, we don't have to worry if this lies or not. This is Khadgar. We trust him. So it should be pretty much filled with truths as far as we know them.
A whole bunch of NPCs, like more than a dozen, that are going to be used in 10.2.7, which is involving the Troll and the Draenei Heritage questline that has been announced. And I've previously, in the other video, covered the Draenei part, as we have a bit more info from the NPC names and other items that were data mined, strongly hinting that the Draenei may actually be settling or building a new permanent settlement on Azeroth. In regards to the Trolls, we were not so lucky, as this seems to be sort of like an out of context, just a random NPC dump. But we can definitely kind of grasp a few things here. First of all, we have data mined a bunch of Loa, we have data mined Trolls from the Arati Highlands, Darkspear and the Zandalari, Rokan, the leader of the Darkspear, Queen Talanji, the leader of the Zandalari, and most importantly, the two Loas of Death, Muezala and Bomsandi, as well as
they show up in the This is going to be a cool Heritage questline. I'm very interested in the Troll Heritage questline. They got some cool lore.
Few NPCs related to them, but it seems like Muezala is going to be playing the main role in this Troll Heritage questline. Interesting enough, we have not actually data mined Vol'Jin himself, but when you take the lore that we know into account, that perfectly makes sense, because if we did data mine Vol'Jin, that would spoil the entire questline right off the bat, so they're keeping him purposefully encrypted, because he's almost certainly going to have a new model that will visually be quite different than the Vol'Jin you may remember from the past. So let me really quickly explain what is going on here so you can kind of see how all this comes together. Muezala was like the main Loa guy, the Loa of Death, incredibly respected by the Trolls, and most importantly Vol'Jin, who was War Chief at the time. As we had learned in the Shadowlands, he didn't care one bit for the Trolls, but instead he did everything in order to use Troll souls to fuel his master, the Jailer. However, he didn't mess up just the Darkspear, but all those Loa that you may remember were defeated back in BFA, the Zandalari Loa, and most importantly, he had tortured the Loa of King's Rezan so much that his soul was beyond saving. As you could play through in the Shadowlands, we helped Vol'Jin recover a lot of the Troll souls as well as those fallen Loa, but when Vol'Jin encounters Rezan, the Zandalari Loa of Kings gives all his remaining essence to Vol'Jin, making Vol'Jin no longer Vol'Jin, but a mix.
He's the Loa of Kings now. That's what I would assume his new role is.
Of himself and Rezan. Then we pack all these things together, go to the Winter Queen in Ardenweald. She offers to resurrect Vol'Jin, and he of course
Rokan's great too.
She plants him into a wild seed, and he's essentially loading to return to Azeroth at any minute. Now that is Shadowlands, but since then we had a time skip as well as all the events that happened in Dragonfight, so all this fast forwards about 5 years to the current Troll Heritage questline that will be happening in a few months. Now check this out, Muezala and Bomsandi are involved in this storyline, the one that manipulated Vol'Jin, the one that helped him, obviously signaling to us that the storyline will be related to this. Then we data mined 4 different Loa, the Loa of Stealth, Regeneration, Scavengers, and Tenacity. Nothing particularly interesting, but it shows us that the Heritage questline will be involving a bunch of Loa and Troll spirituality, overall Troll spirituality. However, here is the interesting part, the key part. The two major characters that seem to be involved here are Rokan and his Darkspear, as well as Queen Talanji, her council, and the Zandalari. Now, you can kind of guess when you know the lore what is one character that connects the Zandalari and the Darkspear. Obviously Vol'Jin. He is the former leader of the Darkspear that is infused with the main Zandalari Loa. Both of these troll factions are a part of the Horde, and you can kind of guess that.
And both of these trolls that he mentioned are leaders, right? They're kings. If he does become the Loa of Kings, it would make sense that he does become relevant in this questline.
Vol'Jin is going
I
to
see
be
what
like
he's
this
saying about
uniting
Vol'Jin.
figure between these two Horde tribes. Personally, I see 2 scenarios. The more likely one is where he's resurrected as a Loa, a wild god type, something akin to Bonsandi, and he's mainly like a new spiritual thing for the Horde trolls. The other is where he actually returns in a type of a troll form and he gets back to leading, possibly together with Quintalangi. This is also a possibility as he would have this sort of like demigod king status for all the trolls. Interesting enough, we had discovered that Quintalangi was present in the very early footage of the Nerubian zone in the War Within that hints at some troll lore
shit,
happening.
She's there. Yeah, there she is. She's in the early footage of the War Within. Damn, I didn't even catch that. Very cool. It would be cool if some troll lore happens there. I was actually expecting more troll lore in Midnight, just because it's, you know, I know it's going to be very heavily elf focused, supposedly. But I thought, you know, because the Amani trolls have some gripes with the elves, right? They've always hated the elves. There was always that whole hatred in the wars between the elves and the Amani trolls. And I actually thought, hey, we might get some playable Amani trolls in the War Within. So I thought troll lore would become relevant. But I forgot about 10.2.7 in the Heritage Armor questline. So we could get some interesting troll lore going forward, most definitely. McDonald's sauce commercial? What? Oh, you're an ads.
I think they're potentially dark troll related because, as we know, they dwell in caves. So it could be possible that Vol'Jin could be involved.
Yeah, that's
in the
part of the
War
lore
Within
too,
as
McDonald's.
well,
Yeah.
which is why they seem to be tying all this up right now. Another related thing that I find interesting as well is that we're getting yet another book outside of Chronicles that was just announced called Exploring Azeroth Island and Isles that is going to cover the lore of Zandalar and potentially even the Echo Isles. That will be coming out soon as well, and that will tie in how Zandalar has changed all the way since BFA. If you connect the Chronicle tying up the past together with this book, updating the lore and wrapping up Vol'Jin and Talanji, we should be getting a pretty clear picture on the troll future quite soon. If we also take into account the themes of restoration that have been happening for pretty much all the other races, it is also very likely that the trolls may be getting a full capital soon as well. However, depending on how Vol'Jin actually returns...
Yeah, you asked, is 10.2.7 Season 4, the roadmap's right here. Yes, it is. Season 4 will start after 10.2.6, right? And then 10.2.7 drops after Season 4 has begun. So yeah, it will be part of Season 4, most definitely. That's when we're going to get the Heritage questline, so pretty cool.
Could really be changing everything. If he's coming back as a Loa and a spiritual figure, I could see the Echo Isles being updated after Cataclysm, so they make sense in the current day. However, if he returns like a king, a co-ruler type thing with Talanji uniting the Zandalari and the Darkspear, then I could see the Darkspear making their own home in Zandalar and this being their new capital, which would of course give a significant impact on the lore. Of course, you know, with this...
Interesting. So he's saying the Darkspear could make a new home in Zandalar. Because we've been saying, like, the Echo Isles are not really a city, right? They're just kind of some huts on an island. And all these races are getting home cities now. The ones that have kind of been left out are the gnomes, right, with Gnome Morgan, because leper gnomes are the plague on the earth that we can never... The plague on Azeroth that we'll never get rid of. They're tougher to defeat than the Burning Legion. And then you got the trolls, right? With the Darkspear, are they going to update the island? Are they going to create a legitimate, you know... a legitimate city of huts? Who knows? But he's saying they're going to go to Zandalar. I could actually see that happening. That could happen.
Limited type information we have right now. It is really hard to predict anything precisely, apart from Vol'Jin definitely returning at some point in time. What is also really interesting other than this though is, wow, Midnight and how obviously being Quel'Thalas based and all, this would have a huge...
I did not pre-watch this shit. Okay? It's just great minds think alike. That's where my brain went to Amani trolls when I thought of World of Warcraft Midnight, because you can't talk about elves and their history without the Amani trolls.
Team as well involving the Amani. If the elves are going to be uniting and right now the trolls are going to be uniting, it might make sense that they would unite with the forest trolls as well.
Yes, bring the Amani trolls in.
However, another interesting
very cool
fact
playable
is that
race.
Vol'Jin, when he was alive, was a shadow hunter, which is this super mysterious class, somehow void related, and you know, we are getting Void and the trolls in Midnight. So it is possible that we're getting Vol'Jin back so that he can play a role in the second expansion of the World Soul Saga. Plus, as you may know, he's one of the best buddies of Troll, the actual main character of the saga. So Vol'Jin is 100% coming back. We don't know how exactly yet, but very likely completely different than the Vol'Jin we knew back from Warcraft 3. Thank you for watching. Check out a very high possibility of player housing actually coming to the game by clicking on the screen, and check out the video on HB colonies in Spain by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.
I do want to say he might have been onto something that he didn't even realize when he talked about shadow hunters. Vol'Jin was a shadow hunter, which does have to do with the void, and we got this interesting art right here of Alleria. I don't know if you guys remember this. We got this in the announcement of the War Within, and she clearly looks like she's summoning like a void arrow or something. Like she's doing some kind of weird shadow hunter shit. We haven't seen this model in game yet, but I do think we could get a new class, like a shadow hunter class or something. And Alleria would be, you know, the face of that class with this new model and everything and this new way of playing the game as a shadow hunter, using the void to make arrows or something. And it turns out Vol'Jin was a shadow hunter. So I could see his relevance coming to, you know, coming back here.
Somehow
right?
avoided.
I could see him coming back as a shadow hunter in some way, or part of that quest line for the Horde. Maybe he's the Horde shadow hunter and she's the Alliance one. Very interesting. A void hunter. That's, yeah. Yeah, this could be it. I was wondering where this came from and when this was going to be relevant. Now I'm starting to think this could happen. Very cool video from Doran. Actually very relevant, not too speculative. He is the truth teller after all. Good stuff.